The day a tired single father carrying 3 frightened orphan girls was thrown out of the company where he had given 12 years of his life, everyone watching believed they had just witnessed the end of 4 broken lives. No one could have imagined that 20 years later, those same 3 little girls would walk back through those very doors not as beggars seeking mercy, but as successful women holding the legal documents that made them the new owners of the company that had destroyed the only job their father ever loved. Before we begin this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness is never wasted, forgiveness is stronger than revenge, and second chances can change lives forever, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our community. Graham Mercer had never planned to become a father, much less a father to 3 children overnight. At 42 years old, he had spent most of his adult life repairing industrial equipment at the prestigious Redwood Manufacturing Company. His hands were rough, his back ached after every shift, and his paycheck barely covered rent, groceries, and the occasional visit to the local diner on Sunday afternoons. His wife had passed away years earlier before they were ever able to have children, leaving him with an emptiness he learned to hide behind quiet smiles and long hours of honest work. Everything changed during a warm spring afternoon when Graham volunteered at a community shelter after a devastating apartment fire displaced several families. There he met 3 sisters who had lost both parents in the tragedy. 9-year-old Meredith tried desperately to appear brave while secretly comforting her younger sisters. 7-year-old Clara refused to let go of Meredith's hand, terrified that another adult would separate them. Little Ivy, only 4 years old, spoke almost nothing, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit that had somehow survived the fire. Many kind people donated money, clothing, and food, but when officials explained that the sisters would likely be separated into different foster homes because no family was willing to adopt 3 children together, Graham felt something inside him refuse to stay silent. He looked into 3 frightened faces and realized that losing each other would be another tragedy they should never have to endure. The adoption process was difficult. Friends called him unrealistic. Co-workers wondered if grief had clouded his judgment. Financial advisors warned him that supporting 3 growing girls on a factory salary would be nearly impossible. Graham listened respectfully to every concern before signing every document anyway. He often said that love had never asked permission from logic. Life immediately became harder than anyone predicted. School lunches, doctor appointments, growing feet that constantly needed new shoes, birthday cakes made from discount ingredients, and endless stacks of laundry transformed every day into a careful balancing act. Graham skipped meals whenever groceries ran low. He repaired the family's aging pickup truck himself because paying a mechanic was out of the question. Every dollar mattered. Still, the Mercer home became something extraordinary. The girls never remembered expensive vacations or luxury toys. They remembered pancake Saturdays when Graham shaped funny animals with the batter. They remembered afternoons planting tomatoes in old paint buckets because a real garden was too expensive. They remembered homework sessions around a scratched kitchen table where Graham patiently helped despite barely remembering his own school lessons. They remembered hearing him whisper every morning before work that no matter what happened, they would stay together. For several years, life settled into a rhythm of modest happiness until everything collapsed without warning. Redwood Manufacturing announced major restructuring after new executives promised shareholders dramatic cost reductions. Hundreds of longtime employees feared layoffs, but Graham believed that 12 years of loyal service would surely count for something. That he was wrong. On a bright autumn afternoon, he was summoned into an office where a younger executive barely looked up from a folder while explaining that his position had been eliminated. There was no gratitude for years of dedication. No acknowledgement of overtime shifts or weekends sacrificed. Only a security badge placed into a cardboard box alongside his family photograph. As Graham quietly gathered his belongings, someone noticed the crayon drawing taped inside his locker. It showed 4 smiling stick figures beneath the words, "Best Dad Ever." Laughter echoed from nearby offices as one supervisor joked that perhaps the company had done him a favor by giving him more babysitting time. The words cut deeper than unemployment itself. Graham walked outside carrying the cardboard box while Meredith, Clara, and Ivy waited beside the old pickup after school because he had promised to take them for ice cream if he finished work early. Instead, he knelt beside them with tears threatening to appear and admitted that he no longer had a job. The girls did not ask whether they could still have ice cream, they simply hugged him. That evening, Graham sat alone at the kitchen table long after the girls fell asleep, calculating bills that no longer had enough income behind them. Fear crept into every corner of his mind. For the first time since adopting the sisters, he wondered if love alone could truly protect them. The following months tested every promise he had ever made. He accepted construction jobs, repaired neighbors' appliances, cleaned warehouses, painted fences, and delivered furniture. Sometimes he worked 3 different jobs in one day. His hands developed fresh scars. His clothes wore thinner. His exhaustion became permanent, yet every afternoon, no matter how tired he felt, he arrived before school dismissal. He never wanted the girls to wonder whether someone would come for them. Meredith noticed first. She watched her father quietly pretending he had already eaten so the girls could finish the last portions of dinner. She secretly began tutoring younger students after school for a few dollars. Clara discovered a passion for computers at the public library, spending countless afternoons teaching herself programming because internet access at home was unreliable. Ivy loved fixing broken objects with her father, learning that almost anything damaged could become useful again if someone believed it deserved another chance. Years passed, the tiny rented house echoed with graduation ceremonies instead of bedtime stories. Meredith earned scholarships through relentless determination and eventually studied finance. Clara received recognition for developing innovative software during college. Ivy became an engineer inspired by years spent repairing everything beside her father. Despite their growing success, one tradition never changed. Every Sunday afternoon, they gathered around the same scratched kitchen table where Graham served homemade pancakes, insisting that happiness always tasted better when shared. One afternoon, nearly 20 years after losing his job, Graham admitted something he had hidden for decades. He confessed that he still dreamed about redwood manufacturing, not because he wanted revenge, because he wished the company had remembered that employees were human beings before they were payroll expenses. His daughters exchanged silent glances. Several months earlier, Meredith had quietly discovered that redwood manufacturing was collapsing. Years of poor leadership, outdated technology, and reckless financial decisions had pushed the once proud company toward bankruptcy. Investors were abandoning it. Employees feared another wave of layoffs remarkably similar to the one that had taken Graham's career. Instead of celebrating, the sisters felt sadness. Thousands of innocent workers stood where their father once had. Together, Meredith, Clara, and Ivy made a decision that stunned the business world, pooling their personal fortunes along with support from ethical investors who believed in rebuilding American manufacturing. They submitted an offer to purchase Redwood Manufacturing. Industry experts dismissed them. 3 sisters raised by a laid-off factory worker could never rescue such a massive corporation. Then came the announcement. The acquisition was approved. Financial headlines focused on market numbers, but Graham remained completely unaware. His daughters invited him to lunch one sunny afternoon, asking him to wear the nicest shirt he owned because they had a surprise. When their car stopped outside Redwood Manufacturing, Graham assumed they were attending a community event. Instead, he watched hundreds of employees gather near the entrance while reporters assembled nearby. A company representative approached the microphone and officially introduced the new ownership team. Meredith stepped forward first. Clara stood proudly beside her. Ivy smiled through tears. Only then did Graham understand. The little girls he once carried home after losing everything now owned the company that had thrown him away. He covered his face as overwhelming emotion finally escaped after 20 years. Employees applauded while many longtime workers recognized the quiet mechanic who had once been escorted out carrying a cardboard box. The former executive responsible for Graham's dismissal had long since retired, but several managers from those difficult years remained. They expected humiliation, they expected revenge. Instead, Meredith announced that the company's future would be built upon dignity rather than fear. Every employee would receive respectful treatment. Long-serving workers would be honored instead of discarded. Training programs would help struggling employees adapt instead of replacing them. Families would matter because businesses existed to serve people, not the other way around. Then she invited Graham onto the stage. He walked slowly, overwhelmed by memories that flooded every step. Looking across the crowd, he saw mechanics, janitors, receptionists, engineers, accountants, and young apprentices beginning careers much like his own decades earlier. His voice trembled as he thanked every honest worker who continued believing in hard work despite difficult leadership. He explained that losing his job had once felt like the greatest tragedy of his life, but if he had never been fired, he might never have discovered just how extraordinary three frightened little girls could become when surrounded by unconditional love. He admitted he had carried bitterness for many years until he realized bitterness only continued giving pain permission to control tomorrow. Forgiveness had not erased what happened. It had simply freed his heart from carrying it forever. There were few dry eyes left. In the crowd, over the following years, Redwood Manufacturing experienced an incredible transformation. Employee turnover dropped dramatically, product quality improved, communities once devastated by layoffs saw new opportunities emerge, young parents received flexible schedules, scholarship programs supported employees' children, emergency assistance funds prevented families from losing homes during unexpected hardships. The company became known not merely for profits but for compassion. Visitors entering headquarters often noticed a simple framed photograph hanging in the lobby. It showed an older pickup truck, three smiling little girls, and one exhausted father standing together outside a modest home. Beneath the picture appeared a single sentence: "The strongest foundations are built with love, not money." Graham never considered himself extraordinary. He insisted that any decent person would have done the same, but Meredith, Clara, and Ivy always knew the truth. Many people offered sympathy, many people offered advice, only one man offered his entire life. As Graham grew older, the daughters never allowed him to worry about another bill, another repair, or another lonely afternoon. They surrounded him with the same unwavering devotion he had once given them without expecting anything in return. On one bright afternoon during the company's 20th anniversary under its new leadership, hundreds of employees gathered to celebrate not financial success but the values that transformed an entire workplace. Before the ceremony ended, Meredith asked everyone a simple question. She asked them to think about the one person whose kindness changed the direction of their lives and to never wait until it was too late to say thank you. Now we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing the greatest act of kindness someone has ever shown you, or tell us whether you believe forgiveness is stronger than revenge. Your words may inspire someone reading them today. Graham looked at the three women he had once carried through unimaginable loss, and they looked back at the father who had given them something wealth could never purchase: a family. They had bought the company that once took everything from him, but the greatest victory was never ownership. The greatest victory was proving that love can outlast injustice, kindness can outgrow cruelty, and one selfless decision can echo across generations, changing countless lives that will never even know where the story truly began. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this story remind you that the seeds of kindness you plant today may bloom into miracles you never live long enough to expect, but they will always find their way home.